Let's go. Hey, let's go. Who's out? Pull them this way. Pull them.
They broke the glass. Everybody stay down. Get down. Oh my God, they got fire on them.
Second floor. You Berkeley, you Cowboys.
Sit down. They want us down.
Stop touching you. Stop touching you.
The votes for President of the United States are as follows. Joseph R. Biden Jr. of the state of Delaware has received 306 votes. Donald J. Trump of the state of Florida has received 232 votes.
What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations. I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2020 Podcasting News and 2018 Innovation Award winner, given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. And once a month, I host the only online show for fathers and dads that in the world that is sponsored by Dove Men Care and also co-sponsored by DAD, Central Canada's national fatherhood organization. As always, I'd like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. Well, folks, we're broadcasting live on January 7th, but it's all about, well, fully about January 6th and also a few days before that. And as usual, we have Staggers State of Things, which is on most Wednesday evenings, but we got a bonus tonight. We got 4 stars. We got 4 beautiful Black queens or empresses, because I was told if you're not married, you're an empress. You're not a queen. So I'm going to cover both my guard tonight. So I'm going to bring in Aisha and Jill. How are you?
Cheers.
Good.
Cheers. I don't know no, I'm not going to ask what's in the cup. I'm not going to ask what's in the cup.
I have diet iced tea.
Oh,
I'm reading the tea leaves.
Okay, good. Okay. I wasn't asking about you, Aisha. I was asking about the lady up in the corner. But we're not going to go there, right?
No. Mm-mm.
Ladies, how we doing?
Good.
Good.
Staying on top of it. 2021 started off with a real bang, huh?
Oh,
2021 has been good for Black people.
okay. Stop right there because I'm going to bring the other two guests on because you're not going to get away with that. Come with that. Now, we're blessed, always blessed to have Jill Jones and Aisha K. Staggers on. And there's another lady who is an incredible supporter of the Dr. Vibe show. And Jill and Aisha love her immensely. And when I called her yesterday, I was so happy to hear she's not doing any live broadcasting this month. So I said, you coming on tonight? Because if you don't come on, Aisha and Jill gonna beat me down. Dr. Tachi, how you doing? You're on mute.
I'm good. Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you for having me. And hello, Jill, and hello, Aisha.
Hello, nice to have you.
Nice to have you,
So-
Dr. Kachi.
Dr. Tachi, for those who don't know, can you give a little bit of background about yourself?
Sure. I am a media professor, a filmmaker, a media content producer. I'm also a journalist. And I'll talk about at the end the different shows that I host. But yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Well, you know what? You know why I'm liking you telling about yourself? Because I'm usually doing it when you're watching, so I got a break tonight.
Yeah, you do. You do.
I have a break. So, and we're gonna bring on another fan of Aisha K. Staggers and Jill Jones, Birdie, host of the Birdie Lynn brand and podcast. How are you?
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. I'm well. Hi,
All right.
Jill.
Hi, Birdie.
Hi, Birdie.
So this is beautiful. Birdie, share a little bit about yourself.
Hi. Well, I am the host of the Birdie Lynn Brandon podcast. We are a boutique and podcast here in Nashville, Tennessee.
Oh, Nastyville.
Yes, we definitely want to create a space where women can support each other, support other small businesses, as well as have conversations about finance and, furthering on generations of other strong women. So we definitely, we're happy to be a part of this.
So happy to have you too.
I
It's going to be a great show.
Yes.
But,
I'm a
like,
Fisk University graduate, so I have all the respect for anybody from Nashville.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, all right, Fisk.
all right. Well, ladies, I don't think I'm going to be doing a lot of chatting tonight. So I'm just going to start. I'm going to say, what happened yesterday? What'll go on? Because I don't live in your country. And before we went live, Aisha went, how things in Canada? I said, my windows have not been smashed.
But then I said 2021 has been good for Black people.
Okay, so I'm going to open the gates, and we've got a lot of people watching. So, folks, please comment away. Black Beauty is saying hello, hello. Everyone else, put your comments in. The ladies will share. So, who wants to start? Okay, let's put it this way. Where were you yesterday when you found out what was going on?
I was watching TV. I was sitting there watching because I was expecting a show with the Republicans. I was expecting them to act a fool with these tallying these votes, and they were right in the middle of arguing about Arizona when they started talking about, oh, these people are going up the steps. And I was just like, they're a little too close. And then that's when all the mess started. And I want to know why anybody expected them to not act like this. There was Charlottesville. There was Michigan, the State House in Michigan. They've been doing this they had practice. They've been doing this at state houses across the country. Donald Trump was telling them to do this across the country for practice. Remember, liberate Michigan, liberate Virginia, liberate Philadelphia. They had practice, but their plans, they're not the brightest bunch of people. Their plans were out in the open. They planned this on Instagram.
You know what's so interesting, and TikTok, which is really funny. I think that for me, I was so engrossed in Georgia and, waiting to see if Ossoff had won. So when I found out, I was like, Oh, right. We have that going on. And I guess I kind of felt it would be a circus, but not that. I knew it would be something, though. But what was really strange is that I got a really funny vibe from just the invite of the Save the Day, Save America rally, because it said doors open. And I kept going, me and a friend of mine were speaking and going, what doors? There's no doors at Ellipse, and there's really no door. What doors are open? What is that? And we were like, are they in a club? And she's like, no, it's outside. So I think that inside of everything that comes from that camp, there's always a little bit of a hint, a code, a something to follow. And I think that it's really quite embarrassing that we, as the first the oldest democracy ever since 1776, we are the oldest. Everybody looks to us because we set, and I don't think a lot of people realize we are the first democracy, full on. And the fact to say that it's embarrassing is an understatement. How this played out was reprehensible, because the worst part of it was it overshadowed Asif. I just was like, okay, he's going to win.
Yeah.
I mean, I think even Kelly Loeffler was like, oh, the hell with it. I lost. Bye. I got to get up here and see what the hell is going on. And I think that it looked obviously like some of the police were in on it. There was such a lull. I started to stress when there was no protections coming, because a lot of people are like, well, they're not doing anything. They're just, going through the motions. There's no weapons. There were weapons. And people forget, during the French Revolution, people were torn apart limb from limb by bare hands of mobs. I mean, you don't need, your bare hands can be a weapon. And, it was just mind blowing, because we had German TV going. We were watching the German news. My husband was. We were watching what was being aired here. Once they started destroying the media's cameras and setting them on fire and smashing, I was like, what the hell is going on? So, yeah, I would say that there was some failure. And basically, I think Nancy Pelosi took care of it today, because the reality is that Stephen Sund, the chief of the Capitol Hill Police, he left his men as sitting ducks. Some were in on it and others weren't. And that was pretty apparent watching it. It was disgusting, revolting.
Dr. Tachi Birdie, where were you when you found out what was going down yesterday?
I'll defer to, you want me to go first? Because Birdie's the guest.
No.
So I've been here before.
Well, I guess I'll go first so that we'll end on a good note. Unfortunately.
Oh, you know
sure
what?
about that?
Well, so Birdie, are you wanting to be a regular? Because that sort of line will make Jill and Aisha want you back every week.
No, it's just the truth. I was with my family, grieving over my grandmother who passed. And
sorry.
the only silver lining is that she's not here to see this. My grandmother died 84 years old, blessed to have learned so much from her. But I know, Jill mentioned this is embarrassing for us as a country. We're looking embarrassing as a unit. And I'm just so happy that, my grandmother, who lived through the eras of the United States and the civil rights movement and everything my ancestors gone through, for her to see that while she was alive, I think that would be, completely disrespectful. And I'm happy that that's the silver lining, that, she wasn't here to see that.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Dr. Tachi?
So here's the thing. I normally, Wednesdays are a prep day for me for the show. So I'm not as in tune, like it's all media tech and pop culture, right? And so that DC is my old stomping ground. I lived there for 9 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got some text messages from, my people that my old roommate's in DC, and she was like, your people are tearing up DC. So I'm not thinking anything serious about. I'm like, oh, okay. More business as usual in DC. Okay, fine. And then, our other roommate was like, yeah, there's always something jumping off here, not knowing that this is what was jumping off. And so when I said, well, let me see if something really serious is going on. And then that's when I saw. So I wasn't even really paying attention. And then it hit me. And the interesting thing is, when you live in DC, a lot happens because that is the seat of the federal government.
Sure.
So I lived in DC during the September 11th attack on the Pentagon, and I was passing over the Pentagon and was wondering, what is this black smoke? For some reason, I'm always unaware of what's going on. I was there for the DC sniper and I was always crouched down just in case. So you get to, that's why I was kind of like, okay, what else happened? Because you get so used to these types of incredible things happening when you live in DC that it's almost in a sense like crying wolf, but a coup.
A coup.
That's what this was, a failed attempt. And we don't know that in this country, like some other countries, not that they're used to coups, but a violent takeover of power happens in other countries, in many other countries. Here, that's not something that generally happens. Granted, it only doesn't happen because we have laws to an extent that hope, but as you can see, it's like that string on your sweater, that yarn on your sweater, you pull it and the whole damn thing comes apart.
True.
So we have laws that are, first of all, applied to certain people only, applied to people when they feel like applying to them, and it only holds together. We're being held together by a string. So we really need to look and reevaluate this system of so-called laws that we have, because this was a glaring example of how the laws apply to some and not to others. Glaring example. We knew this. Those of us that are woke and understand, we already knew this. So when you, Jill, you were saying, people keep saying, oh, I'm surprised. Why the hell are you surprised and shocked in 2020? What is this?
21.
Yes.
21.
But I think what also
because
surprised them was that to see how ill prepared we were. And when you see that this big monolith that you've created about your country, to see how fragile and weakened it is, like, that was where the peril came from. And then the recognition, it just broke. Sorry, everybody was looking at stuff and going, why aren't these police doing what they did for BLM? See, that was what was interesting. It wasn't the fact that some part of me thinks that they're like going, okay, so, all right, well, where's the cavalry? Wait, where the hell are they? I mean, what is this? And that was what flipped the white folks out too, was like, wow, there's white people who are in danger and they can't get help. And that was another trigger, because it was like, and then the most chilling moment was when you found out later that when they did bring the first set of National Guard, were changing vests and switching them to black, which meant that they were in solidarity with some of the protesters. Or when you saw that at one point they did come, and then when they did come, they were outmanned. I mean, to see, it looked like that Scarface movie with those people climbing in after him. And I think that people couldn't handle that, because it just turned into something that you were like, wow, if this really was a foreign entity coming in. Some people actually have even been so afraid by this exposure of what it's revealed that it could possibly lead to something else down the line, just to test us. That was like looking at a really bad test run. So no matter what, that dude and those people, it was, the point was, you're right, Dr. Tashi, it's everybody who wasn't woke, they got woke for a minute to be like, no, this has to change. This is not new. There's nowhere, you can't do this on any level. There were children who lost their eyes during our marches with BLM. Some got killed. We had that with rubber bullets. None of that was there. It was so to see the incompetence of these men look like they had never been trained. That was so crazy to me. And you know,
if I
can,
more than anything though,
they're not trained.
they were not, and they
They're
were
not,
not.
That's the problem with policing overall. They are not well trained. They get a couple of months of whatever. And obviously, at a federal level, there's a little more, but still not enough. So they're not. That's the problem with policing overall. They're not trained.
And when you put the military with some of those protesters or rioters, domestic terrorists, they've had the training. When you see somebody rappelling down into a room and doing all of this stuff, that is somebody with military training. And these are people that were coming, and and you've got to also remember, not only are they not trained, our men, our Secret Service, our everybody, they're not trained to how do you deal, or a military, how do you train them when your president is the enemy?
Okay, I'm going to have you hold right there, Aisha.
Well, what I was going to say was that one thing that bothered me about this whole thing, that although a lot of those terrorists that were there yesterday were military, a lot of them were militarily, but I don't think we gave enough attention to the fact that they found 3 bombs in the Capitol building, which meant that these people did not do this themselves. Those bombs, where they found them, had to have been planted by people who knew that building very well.
The doors were open, remember?
The doors were open, but
that's what the invite said. The doors were open.
But for where they found the bombs, those were people who knew the building intimately.
It said doors open at 7 a.m. and Trump didn't give his speech until 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock.
I get that, but what they were saying in the news,
I think that was a code that they could get in and put stuff there at.
I know that, but for where they put the bombs, for where they put the bombs, I was reading this morning, is that they were places that people had to have known the blueprints of the building, which tells me that this was an inside job.
Absolutely,
they had people on the inside, and that the fact that the media hasn't said, they were trying to blow this building up. And what makes me angry about why Mike Pence is being such a punk right now is that, do you not realize that the president sent somebody in there to kill you too? You should be angry enough to be 25th Amendment now.
I'd say give him another day.
I think he's trying to hold out. He's over.
I heard that 45 didn't even call and see how he was doing yesterday.
That's what I heard. Yeah.
When Mike Pence went to ask him for National Guard, Trump told him no.
No, and it went through 3 chain of commands, I was told. 3.
He had to go over his head.
They had to pull in the SCED, or somebody else, and then it had to go back through the military, then come back to him. So in my opinion, and they were considering with the 25th Amendment that technically for that moment, Pence was our president. Pence was our president at that moment. So
we did not,
because Trump abdicated his responsibilities. So why don't we just continue that? I get it. They don't have any precedents or law based upon this. They got enough damn attorneys in Congress.
Right. There were these bombs. They had zip ties. What are you going into the halls of Congress with zip ties for if not to take hostages?
Exactly. You came with a purpose.
Now think about this. This is how dumb they were. They get into the halls of Congress, and then they realize they don't know what to do when they get in there, because they had no plan of what to do when they get in there. The plan was just to get in, because they get in there and they're like, oh, we really got in. So now what do we do? Oh, we just trashed the place. And then
the woman who got shot knew what to do. The woman who got shot, she knew damn well what she was doing, because she was a trained officer.
Well, yeah,
and she knew. But what she didn't know was to check her blind spot, because brother was right on her left, and he shot her, and he needed to.
But then she clearly didn't know what to do, because you don't climb into the speaker's lobby. That's an automatic kill.
I don't
That's an
think
automatic kill shot.
I don't think she thought that they were right there. See, there's another angle that they've shown since, and I thought the shot was coming from further down, but there's another angle that shows he is actually just this much is holding him away from the other protesters on the side of the door. He's in the corner on the side. So when he shot her through the neck, it just went through her neck because it was a 32 as well. She had no chance. And but that was dumb. Job. That was and that was stupid of her, because she thought it was the dude standing. There was one way down the way in front. And I think that was just a distraction. They told her that one told her to stand down. She was focused on him. She didn't do it. She made a move. Boom, done. And that's just, they're trained. But she knew, because people organized that. She was climbing over, voraciously. And somebody wanted to get in there, and they wanted Pence's head. I mean, they wanted him.
Well, Trump told them to go after Pence.
Well, I just want to interrupt there. Let's go back to early on the day, 45 speech at the beginning of the day, which I'm going to start calling the Release the Hounds. Really? Well, wasn't it? That's what it was, wasn't it?
Release the meth.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, yeah. This is why, the stupidity of, and not even just these inbred riffraff that have caused all this wahala. It's the stupidity overall of just the entire situation. And this is an interesting thing. I saw this. I can't remember who said. And there was an old clip from Roland Martin from probably about 2 years ago. I don't think it was at the beginning of his regime. It was about 2 years ago. And really calling out the Republicans in terms of, okay, you were playing with fire, basically, and you got burned. What this whole thing is, they thought they could use the vigor of his base to get their points across, and they realized how dangerous and that this whole thing was. Actually, they didn't realize until it was too late. It took for them to be kidnapped, held, and for a coup to happen, for them to say, well, wow, maybe this guy really is dangerous. New Yorkers, we could have told you all along how dangerous he was. Yes. You know this, right? Yes. Everybody that's from New York State knows how dangerous and deplorable he is. Yes. Horrible. So, I'm just floored. I'm not surprised. But when you look at all the different pieces and the absolute stupidity that it had to take for us to get to this point, it's all stupidity. All stupidity. Well, and I think I've come away from your original question, Dr. Vibe, but
it's all right. No. As I said, I'm just steering the ship. You ladies are driving it tonight.
It makes sense what Dr. Tachi's saying, because when you look back, now it's unraveling that Rudy Giuliani left a message for Senator Tuberville. Rudy Giuliani, there's
the wrong number.
Mail, right? It's like we have to keep backtracking, and you find the breadcrumbs. And I don't know. It's on what y'all got it, because everybody knew. That's the fact that they were so ill prepared and not looking online to see this is even more disturbing. Where is our intelligence? Oh, and don't forget, intelligence just released information a couple of days ago that said Iran was trying to blow up the Capitol in the inauguration. And now you have to sit and think, was it Iran or was it Trump stuff? Because all of it comes back to Trump and his BS. The information he lets out, I'm sorry, I'm half not believing it, and I understand why Joe Biden is pretty much going to fire everybody.
Well, here's the truth. It's not that white people didn't know this. They knew. They're lying if they say that they didn't. What bothers them about yesterday is that white people don't like looking ghetto on TV.
Or insane.
They did yesterday. They don't like seeing themselves. They really don't like seeing themselves look good on TV. All the poor white trash was on TV for the world to see, and they did not like that. That bothered and embarrassed the hell out of them. They don't mind it when
Right.
it's us. They don't mind it when it's us. And they like to get to say, "Oh, look at those animals and look at them rioting and looting and stuff." This time it was them. Okay. And
I
it was
don't know.
them for 5 hours. Okay.
I mean,
it was them for 5
I
hours.
think it's a good way to think about it, but I also think that it really showed the two areas where they are really not evolving or they have left behind. They left behind their own people, not us. I haven't had anything to do with it.
That's
You've
why
got
Black people
this-
are good in
You've got
2021.
this very bizarre 20-something-year-old male going all the way arching into like the 30s. There is a real something is wrong. They're incelic. There's something wrong with these young men. They want to be alphas. Journalists write about it. They make money. We're in a capitalistic society that finds these niche people, and we have built them up into having real serious complaints and real serious anything when they actually need to be 5150. The saddest part is there is a problem with the male energy, white male energy in America. And it when it gets together, you could feel it. They're not bright or intelligent. They read half thing. There's something going on there, and I'm not equipped to deal with it because I'm not a therapist. And then you have that other group that came along that didn't have health insurance, had asthma, had disease, walking down the mall to go and have a revolution, and a couple of them dropped dead because they physically couldn't do it. So, I mean, it was embarrassing on that level too, because you're right. That's where the trash part comes, because you're like going, well, wait a minute. And then today, Trump dumped them.
Well,
And you saw
okay.
somebody, but
Go ahead,
the crowd
Birdie.
though also too was very mixed. You saw
No, he
somebody
definitely.
Meemaw.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, Birdie. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Birdie.
Good.
No, go ahead, Aisha.
No, I'm just saying that that crowd though, even though you saw some young white men there on one end of the Capitol building, you also saw a whole lot of older, missing teeth, old white
That's what I'm
men.
saying.
So
They
you
don't even
you
have
saw somebody,
Obamacare.
but then you also saw somebody's Meemaw being carried around. You saw the lady
Not
that they were
Meemaw.
calling. You saw the lady that they were calling the chicken wing that had no arms and no legs being wheeled
I saw that.
around. Yeah,
I saw that. I said,
it was
bless her heart.
Yeah.
What is she doing?
just like you can't really call it.
No, I mean, I don't know. What were you going to say, Birdie?
Yeah.
So I mean, I was just gonna just piggyback off of what Aisha said, and just what everybody's been saying, like the wording that he used, like this should have never gotten that far. Like it was Twitter trending. Why the money that and I think me and Dr. Vibe had this discussion, like part of the discussion, like as much funding that we put into Homeland Security, and I just don't understand the lack of training and the lack of preventiveness when he's using such language. Stand by.
Yeah.
Well, you know what?
Um,
Look at it too.
That's cool.
I knew something was up when the leader of the Proud Boys got arrested earlier on this week.
I think he did that on purpose so he didn't have to go. He's a freaking coward. Did you do that? Because I did.
Yeah,
I was like,
when I heard that, okay, the fun's begun. The fun's begun.
yeah,
I
but
said,
that got them angry.
But
They were
he
all
got-
hopped up already.
But I think he did it on purpose because they've been having problems inside that group for a while with Enrique Torres. I think that of all the things, he took a Black Lives Matter flag and burned it or something. And then he gets arrested. And then he's banned from DC area. He didn't have to go. So there
he knew he'd be the first person to be shot. He's a person of color. He knew that they'd be the first person to come after.
I don't think so.
Or did he know?
So, or did he know? Yeah, I find with
You know what? Let
and
me tell you
because
something.
we also what I meant to say about that young group of men is that they're also clout chasers, and there's extremists that just want to be out there fighting, but it's in their group. They are the angry white American male, and it is a problem in America. They are really they need help, and they need
They're
to
also
get
very.
something.
Go ahead,
I
Dr. Pastor.
apologize. I apologize. I didn't mean to cut you
No,
off.
no,
There
cut me
also
off.
there's also this birthright complex, and they're also very entitled. And so when things don't go their way, meaning they're not a millionaire, this idiot who's in office has promised the sun, the moon, and the stars, and it's not doing anything for them. They're looking for somebody to blame, and outside they have a very strong external locus of control. So everything that's going wrong has nothing to do with them. It's all outside factors. And so they're blaming, really, there was no rhyme or reason to this insurrection at all. Not only did they not have a plan, because usually people who think irrationally don't have good plans anyway, they're like, we're here, now what? And so they just start tearing up the place because they don't have a good plan. So there was, and what did you want your outcome to be? So that's the other thing. But there's this level of entitlement that turns into anger. There's this fear. For some reason, they're always fearful of losing their standing in society. However small, because if you look at them individually, they don't have very much standing except for the fact that they are white male. That's it. Take that away, they don't have very much standing. So that's the one thing they have that they can cling to that makes them better than everybody else. And so for, come hell or high water, they're going to fight for it. Even if they don't have a consistent plan, even if they don't know what the next, they're not future thinkers. They're thinking about the here and now and today. There was no plan so now we take it over. What is our next thing? How do we do something for ourselves? There was none of that. None of that.
But
So,
why are they allowing themselves to be made tools? They are tools of Josh Hawley, of Ted Cruz. I mean, it's pathetic. I mean, do they not have any dignity or balls? I mean, what is wrong with that?
But think about the masses.
Each of them promises to give them power as white men. Because here's the thing.
They wrote them off today.
All of this comes down to one thing. A black man became president. A black man became president because all of their lives, they've been told this one thing. It doesn't matter if you graduate college or not. You have this, if you have that. You are better than any black man. The one thing that will never happen in your lifetime is that a black man will never be president in your lifetime. I'm 46. I know I've heard that. A black man would never be president in my lifetime. And that the fact that one did become, that was the only thing that they were ever told. The only career in this entire world that they were ever told was reserved for them. There's a reason that position is called leader of the free world. Okay? Because they believed it was specifically reserved for white men. That is the ultimate in power in this country. That is the highest.
We also believed that. Think about the narratives of what you've been taught growing up. We also bought into that will never.
And then it happened. The one thing that they believed was theirs and theirs only, because up until 2008, it had always been theirs. And then it happened. And
they weren't even paying attention to it. They weren't even paying attention to it. They weren't even voting.
What do you think these people
because they didn't have to. They didn't have to pay attention because
nothing but Tea Partiers.
No, the Tea Partiers came a little bit later. I'm talking about even the youth. Their youth led into them.
These are children of the Tea Party. That's all they are. The Tea Party.
They didn't have to pay attention.
I think they've been radicalized, some of the young people, because some of their parents are actually my age, and they're more liberal. I mean, I'll be honest.
Some of these parents are former Tea Partiers.
True, but they're
still holding the tread on these flags. And that came out in 2009.
That became really trend. Even noticing people in New York and where I was working, it just, people from the South started having this really weird Southern pride, because when you mention the South all the time, it soon was like our food, our Black people stuff, because we really do have the stamp
but
on
they
it.
never lost.
And
I lived in the South I moved to the South in '96, and that was the biggest culture shock I ever had. I only moved back here in 2012. Okay, and as far as I'm concerned, from '96 to 2012, they never lost it.
I just don't really care about their parents. What I care about are the youth. I don't think old people can change. I think it's the youth that's more important to focus on, trying to fix our youth. Old people are going to be old, and it's like it's very, very rare that people change. Sorry, but
So-
it's really important to get the younger people's brains back.
Dr. Tachi, go ahead. I'll come on after you.
I don't. So, well, all of this is absolutely true. To your point before, where they don't have to try, they don't have to pay attention, because when the narrative is, despite whatever anybody else does, you are supreme. So you really don't have to try. And in fact, if you're a white male, you ought to be insulted by the insinuation that all you need to be is mediocre, and you will go, because that happens. They are a bunch of these individuals are a bunch of mediocre individuals that have never had to do anything. Not much is expected of you. And that's the sad narrative, that you can be mediocre, but as long as you're non-melanated, you're good. This job is secure for you. And so you ought to be, if you are a white male, you should be livid that so little is thought of you, that all you need to do is be mediocre. That really says a lot.
They have a very low social conditioning. Yeah. It's very low.
But when you know you can be mediocre and get by, you don't. When you know you can be mediocre and get by, you have no incentive to change. And that's why I believe that youth, particularly white male youth, cannot be changed. They have no incentive to.
I'm just going to come in for a minute. There's two statements, and I want to, hopefully they can relate to what happened yesterday. One, and I always remember now, I always remember what Aisha said a few weeks ago about what you said, a statement about many white people. What did you say? And I always ask you, you made that statement that they don't have to be, they don't like to be told.
They don't like to be told no. They don't like to be told what to do.
There you go.
And white people have too much freedom.
And then
that's what I said. They have too much freedom.
And another thing, I think, I don't know if he may be watching. I know he was watching. Or D. Chansonberry said something when I spoke with him at the end of December, that most Black people have had to make dinner out of scraps.
Yeah.
And I think now there are some non-melanated people that are having to make dinner out of scraps, and they don't like that.
Well, too, I'll tell you this. I was reading this earlier, and someone said this, and I thought about it, and it's actually true for a lot of Black folks. Black folks are some of the most patriotic people in this country. Compared to our white brethren.
You wouldn't see Black people doing what happened yesterday.
You would not see Black people, not only because we know we get in trouble, we know the rules, we follow them, because we know the consequences. We know the laws, the same laws, that same privileges that apply to white people don't apply to us.
Yes.
We know the punishments only apply to us. And so even though this country hasn't treated us well, we still believe in the ideals of it. We still work towards the ideals of it. We still work toward the dreams that we believe this country can be better than it is, even though.
Yeah. So, and for people who are watching this live on the replay, I put up a comment, but if you're listening to this audio wise on the replay, Galen just put up, "I'm not afraid of neck bones and chicken feet." So all the ladies chuckled when I put that on the screen. So for something to interrupt Aisha when she's in a deep dive, that was a good comment. So continue, Aisha.
So even though we know the country hasn't always been good to us, we tend to be more patriotic and strive to make it better.
I agree.
But white people
Indeed.
do take more from this country than
I
they
don't
give
know
to
if
it.
I agree.
We always, I feel I can completely concur with Aisha. And like that statement, like we make lunch out of scraps and we think it's normal. We think it's completely normal. And it's the attitude. It's not, I don't think it is definitely something that's taught generationally, but it's an attitude across the board. Like your mom and dad could teach you right and wrong all day long, but when you get out into the world or when you get out into society, it's very apparent what's accepted and what's not accepted, what you can do and what a non person of color can do.
Mhm.
Definitely it's apparent on the news today and it's shocking now, but maybe I think if you're not placed into that circumstance or situation where like Aisha said, or Dr. Tachi said, if you don't have to work for it, or if you don't have to engage with certain people, you have no incentive to have an attitude of compassion or being considerate or feeling you have to have a certain work ethic to do something, So I completely agree with Dr. Tachi and Aisha on that one. It's an attitude.
Because it's like this. It's like we believe that everybody should have the right to vote. They don't believe that everybody should have the right to vote. That's why they set up to 3:00 in the morning last
I
night.
just don't believe
today.
we're that patriotic. We're forgetting there are many, many churches that we have that do not allow our Black people to vote.
Yeah.
They follow certain Christianity in certain forms that they don't. The Jehovah's Witness, there's certain parts of the Seventh-day Adventists. There's different ones that don't vote. And
You know what?
it's like,
I'm sorry.
and for me, I'm like, was that created to keep them from voting back in the day? I've waffled back and forth. Like, what is this? I mean, I also think that a lot of our youth are getting really lost. They really are. And they're kind of useless too. They're not voting enough. They only vote I'm sorry. I can't condone, I can condone protesting, but what went down with some of this stuff in the summer and the looting and my friends working at Gucci and people coming in with their EDD cards. And every time I'd hear that my friend who worked at Gucci was telling me it was another Black person. And I was like, don't up. But they were stealing. And it's like, it's just, I don't know why some days I wake up and go, why do I even bother? And I know I'm not the only one who feels that way.
Okay. I want to bring it back to yesterday because we got a little bit off. I want to stay a little bit more on yesterday, but keep it in context. Go ahead, Dr. Tachi.
So, well, bringing it back to yesterday, can I bring up a new thing that has been bothering me?
Sure.
So the entire thing has bothered me, but I actually made a social media post about this because you have a very different point of view. I shouldn't say different, but you see different sides when you also are an immigrant. So, of course, I was born here, but my parents were not, which, I'm African, Nigerian. So the thing that I've been noticing and is really keenly aware that to me doesn't need to be in the conversation, I've been hearing the phrase banana republic a lot.
Right.
And it's been bothering me because I detest that term. So I'll read something and it'll be a great post. And then somebody, this isn't a banana republic, or we're like a third world country. Let's stop right there. So you're then saying that you are somehow better than those of us that emanated from you are aligning yourself with that S-hole country that Cheeto Satan said when you say things like this. So I don't think that people are intentionally trying to be rude or disrespectful or harmful, but I put out there, I'm like, it is. When you say things like banana republic, that whole everything is a reference to people who come from Africa, Southeast Asia, Central and South America, as not only their governments being less than, but also that the people are not fit to govern and really not fit to live. And so when you say things like that, and this is the troubling thing, it hasn't just been from non-melanated people. Black people have been saying that too. So that's also very troubling because it also shows that you don't see your struggles as tied. And they are very intimately tied.
I'm
All
not
of
sure.
of colonialism.
I don't, but
Definitely.
you know what? I was talking to somebody about this today, colonialism. American people, we shame people for everything. A banana republic, if somebody uses that term, I don't think they're referencing today. It's like people need to be able to be free to say what they need to say without this PC. My daughter is writing a song and was saying, it's not PC to say a certain word anymore. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, it's too much. A banana, I cannot deal with
Not
everybody.
to me.
But
Not
here's
to
the
me,
whole point.
because it's referring to me. So it's easy for you to say that, but not to me.
Because as an American, my country and our country, just so you know, is built. And if people would just get this straight with our liberalism, oh, we're fighting for oil, we're doing this. We are a country that is one of the richest in the world. We got here because we have had our colonial stuff, our imperialistic concepts.
Absolutely.
But we also fight and have been fighting because the world is about navigating resources. We have a certain amount of people on a planet. Everybody's going to go for it. If I had a party and there's some really cool people over in this corner and 10 over here and over here, and the group who's ready to set the house on fire need the matches, do you think I'm going to give them the matches as resources? Hell no. That's just common thinking. And if everybody feels like they got shortchanged along the way, I'm sorry.
But you know what? There's a deeper.
But here's the thing. We're fighting out here and the patriots and everything. But the thing is, this argument and everything going forward in the world right now is about resources. There aren't enough. And everybody's mad about
there are when people don't hoard them.
There aren't
And so
enough to the degree.
Okay, ladies, I'm gonna cut it because we're getting way off topic. I want to
Okay, but let me just finish my point.
One last comment.
The point of this was, don't denigrate other people because you're angry about this one specific situation. There's no need to put that in. And as somebody who, it is offensive. And as somebody who comes from that part of the world, hold on. As someone who comes from that part of the world, there's no reason to put that in there. It's divisive. So when you're talking about other things being divisive, you can't then turn around and use things that are divisive towards other people. That's all I'll say.
Well, how about you guys just make a list and put it up and mandate people say this and that.
Okay, ladies, we're done. Let's get back to yesterday. Okay, let's get back to yesterday.
But that's the problem. What I'm arguing about is some of the stuff that white people are mad about. We've come for them relentlessly about what they can say and what they can't say.
Absolutely.
Let's just be honest. Absolutely. But some things and the victimization and oh my God, some people who got shot by the police didn't do the right thing. Others didn't. No. Some people, all of it, let's just come clean. We have to start looking at each other as just human beings. I don't want to wake up every day with the burden of the black man or the white man on my shoulders. I want to live my life. And I think everybody else does too. But I think we can but we cannot keep victimizing our people in the black community. There's some weight that needs to be pulled and some real serious home truths need to be had.
That's another conversation for today, for another day. I want to get back to what happened yesterday, in which most of the people didn't look like us that were there. So I want to get back.
Well, that's why it's like 2021.
I saw a bunch of black people in there. I screenshot. I'd like to ask those teenage kids who were out there, black kids supporting this. You think there were quite a few. I have pictures of about 50 of them.
They were there.
Okay.
50.
Most of the people were
Well,
not.
that's
though,
And they were,
is what
and they were
Aisha.
definitely recently in jail.
Aisha, go ahead.
That comes back
Aisha,
to a
go ahead.
security problem, because I can't understand why the security people couldn't even find the black people in the crowd.
Hmm.
Because as much as the security treat as badly as they treat us, they couldn't even find the black people in the MAGA crowd.
Why would they need to find them?
I'm just
Oh,
saying, that's how bad security was.
these were suburban black kids with their nice clothes
I
who
still want to
decided
know
to
why they were
just
there.
hey, and their mom and dad are probably lawyers.
I want to know specifically about one black man I saw, one young black guy I saw, who watched the only black female I saw out there protesting these terrorists as they beat her.
Wow.
I saw the pictures.
Well,
He watched the white man beat her.
But if you
And
don't feel
the
a sense of
police officer.
solidarity to being black and protecting, of course you're going to sit there and watch.
That's humanity, period. Yeah. If you don't, it's not about necessarily black or white in this instance, because I mean, it's right and wrong. Did your parents, your lawyer, whoever his parents are, it's an attitude. I mean, we're in a decade or era of mental health. So I'm not surprised, but it is disturbing. Like, he obviously something was wrong if he was watching that.
Totally.
Absolutely. We don't know what he was thinking, or we don't know exactly what's there. But all I can do is look at it on the surface. And I have to say, even though, and I'm guessing that are you a millennial or Gen Z?
Millennial.
Okay. So obviously there are different, and I taught millennials, even though I'm not like I'm at the edge of it, I'm still very much Gen X. So there's like different ways of thinking. So what I would notice, and this is not necessarily you, but I would notice with my students, they would like something that could have ethnicity or race tied to it because of their different experiences. They might not see that. So what I'm saying is, even though, it may not be race or ethnicity tied to it, but it could very well be. If you don't see yourself as a member of that culture, and the need, because there has been this rhetoric of we definitely need to protect each other. If you don't see yourself as a member of that culture, there's no need for me to protect, because I pulled myself up by my own damn bootstraps, and that's not. So that's what I'm thinking. I could be completely wrong. But, I've seen it over and over.
No, that's valid inference.
Yeah.
But like at the core of it though, like it was embarrassing to have an African American man on the Capitol following. He's a follower, not the leader that we raise in our communities to stand up for what's right and what's wrong. The patriotic black man, but a follower, someone who's watching someone be harmed. That's like basic. And then on top of it, where Dr. Tachi's point comes in, is extraordinary. There are some youth in the millennials I have noticed that don't have pride in their culture, or see the importance of the climate that we're in to protect each other, to even just speak up and say that's not right. I don't know where we're at.
But I think it has a lot to do with assimilation. And you even will see it with the minorities, how they're assimilating. There were Arab people there that were going off about Donald Trump's election being stolen. And I was like, this is very bizarre. There were a few Asians. And so when you look at this and you think, well, okay, I'm trying to figure this out. Some people don't want that. They feel, some in the Gen Z and the Gen X's feel they don't have the burdens of their parents. But what's really crazy is that you're also still dealing with mob mentality, where enough of them got together to beat a police officer with a fire extinguisher and basically kill him. And we all know that in the justice system, if whoever did it was black, that's a wrap. He's going to jail for maybe the death penalty.
Yeah.
Because this is insurrection that these people are going to be charged with. And
Well-
there's no real guidelines in the state of DC because DC isn't really a state. And that will probably change in the future. DC will probably should have statehood.
So I want to get back in regards to yesterday, a few different things. The senator.
Can I tell you
Go ahead.
something else? I did find some funny things about yesterday.
Uh-oh. Go ahead.
Those people were incredibly stupid. Now, the one guy who went with his work badge,
Yeah, he got fired.
he got fired. The House rep from West Virginia, who just got elected, hadn't even been sworn in yet.
Right.
Oh, no.
He got caught. Then there was this one lady who got tear gassed. A reporter asked her name.
Oh
my,
yeah.
my name's Elizabeth. Where are you from, Elizabeth?
I remember all her business.
Revolution. Yeah.
Not Phil. And then the other one was a guy who took a picture of his son, standing posing next to one of those statues in the chamber. Posted it on Twitter, and then was asking, "Why is the FBI looking for me?" on Twitter.
I mean, for me, I tried to find some humor, but it was really discouraging and depressing to me. They defaced John Lewis's tribute.
I know.
And, this is not really, it's not funny because I am seeing German news and looking at also, if you read everything what world leaders said, it was pretty horrific to read.
So here's
Angela Merkel said she said she's not going out like this.
Well, so who's America's biggest enemy right now?
Turkey.
Donald Trump, Cruz.
Well,
and
stop it. But economically,
China.
So they have said nothing.
No, but China just made one of the biggest deals. The CEP, ECP. Yeah. They don't care. Yeah. But here's the beautiful part where I was talking about back, not to touch the Banana Republic a little bit, but with resources again. They are doing their thing. This is what you do. This is how it all works. It shifts in all generations. Ronald Reagan made a very interesting thing about democracy and freedom. Basically, every generation has to fight for it, to understand it, essentially. And I'm not a big proponent of Reagan, but this quote was something because he's right. It's really like the youth have to understand, and what we've also learned is they're not educated. They're not learning civics. We have a huge gap in at least the last 25 years. These kids are not learning in school. They don't understand.
I want to ask, what are your thoughts about the senators that did not change their vote and still wanted to go against the Electoral College?
Expel them.
I didn't expect them to change.
Me neither.
But that's because I heard that call. I didn't expect them to change overnight. They spent forever on Philadelphia. That was absolutely ridiculous. But then when I heard that call that I sent the two of you, the call from Rudy Giuliani, it all made sense. And I started to look at the basically the riot yesterday differently. That the riot was the distraction. The coup was Rudy Giuliani going back and calling all of those senators and House members to get them to prolong to continue to object. Because remember, when we listened to the call, he said object to everything.
Yeah.
And then he explained to them, which is totally false, that if they object to everything, that this doesn't get done, and then Trump gets to be somehow president or something again. It was just ridiculous.
Which is why I think that there's a missing part to that. Like there's a backstory, which made me think that they wanted them to stall for the pipe bombs to go off.
They wanted them to stall for something.
I really feel there's something darker and more nefarious that was happening. And that should be, hopefully they'll do an investigation.
Whatever it is has to do with this pardon list that came out. Because he wants to pardon himself. He wants to pardon Ivanka, Jared, Rudy. He wants to pardon Lil Wayne and and somebody.
Well,
Kodak,
Lil Wayne
Kodak
probably
Black.
didn't take the $1 million. He actually
Wayne,
probably,
Kodak
when he
Black,
endorsed him.
So,
he doesn't want to pardon Don Jr. or Eric.
Won't even ask. Galen's asking, what was the possible end game? Now, the ladies, if I'm hearing right, you don't think there was an end game about yesterday, or was
I
there?
do. I think they wanted to get rid of certain senators. I do. I think they wanted to have people hurt, harmed, killed, whatever. Trump is desperate. We're lucky he doesn't get into a war with Iran.
I think he was trying to have a 9/11 on the Capitol building grounds in Congress for him to make an excuse that he can't go. They were trying to get rid of those ballots.
Well, who better than to deal with bombs than Rudy Giuliani of 9/11, right?
But think about it.
Not to be a conspiracy theorist.
They were trying to get rid of those ballots. They were trying to blow the building up to get rid of those ballots. Because if those ballots are gone, then what? There's no proof.
Need more time.
Interesting point.
The election results.
Go ahead.
Are we talking about, so when he says what was their end game, do you mean the overall end game? Do you mean the end game of the terrorists? Who exactly?
I'll let him put up his comment on that. It's a very good question. Very, very good question. So,
because remember, one of the interesting things, remember, when they evacuated the House floor, they left originally the ballot box, and those two women went back to go get it. And they said, thankfully, they have the thought in mind to go back and get it.
Yeah, because if they didn't get it, it would have vanished.
Because if they didn't get it, it would have vanished.
Right.
Wow.
Look at God. Look at God.
Wow. He's saying, what was the end game of the terrorists? Galen's saying, did the terrorists have an end game?
They didn't know.
I don't
think they knew.
They were pawns.
But they were
being used.
Yeah, exactly. They were pawns.
And they're too stupid to know.
The real people who put the
everybody.
bombs, the people who really put the bombs and did all of that, those are the ones you got to find.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So 45 only has 12 or 13 days left. Will we ever find out the real story behind this? Because he's gonna be gone.
Tish James gonna find out.
You know, at this point, I don't know. Go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead, Dr. Tassi. Sorry.
Or Dr. Vibe, whatever that works. I don't know.
Whatever works. From doctor to doctor.
Exactly. I don't know if, of course, it matters, but I don't know how much this matters. There's been so much wahala. This is just the pinnacle of the past, not even 4 years. This is from when he tried to run before that. He was stirring up this pot. It's just that people did not really pay attention or see. In fact, the whole reason he got in, not only was it interference, but it was because we also were not diligent. Oh, he's not going to win. And when you underestimate people, and he's the type of person that does not like to be underestimated and does not like to be laughed at, come hell or high water, he's going to make whatever it is come true. So we turned our backs, and that's how he slipped in. So there's a whole plethora of diabolical rubbish that has happened at his hands. So this is, it's not small, it's the pinnacle, but it's just one piece of everything. I know there are other things that are going to be uncovered in the coming years. It's not going to happen next week. It won't happen, even next year. But in these coming years, you're going to start to see these layers of things uncovered. See, this is why I need for Shonda Rhimes to stop writing, because everything she bloody writes comes true. This is a great
He was using the Defiant storyline for this. You know, this is the Defiant storyline, and I keep laughing because I'm like, he's such a TV head. These are like, let's do that.
Yes.
Shonda Rhimes wrote it. Yeah,
Yes.
I got that too.
I want to know who M316 is.
I know, right?
I know who Papa Pope is. Who's Papa Pope? Because I needed him to come back.
But you know what? But that you're so right. The thing is, he's so out of touch with reality. That doesn't mean he doesn't know what he's doing, but he's so out of touch with reality that you can easily he's turning this entire thing into a show, and not just necessarily a reality show, but from scripted things that he's seen.
Wait till he shows up in the new Shonda outfits that they have. The bridge, the one where everybody's in the corsets and stuff. Whatever storyline he's going to take. Wait till he starts stealing from that one. I don't know if he's going to.
He only has a few 2 weeks left. What? 14 days? 13 days?
Yeah, 13 days.
I'm wondering there's this whole call. I've been reading even the Wall Street Journal, which is a very conservative paper for people who don't know, is calling for him to resign. So I'm just wondering where this is going to go, because the thing is, he still has 13 days to cause more wahala.
But no, isn't this how Scandal ended? Remember, all those people got locked up at the very end of Scandal. Gotta go watch the that season finale of Scandal. But
I think he's going to resign, but not unless he can get Pence on board. Well, it's interesting. His speech tonight was very weird, because it was like he threw the people to the wayside. There's going to be a peaceful transition, because Trump likes to make you think it was his idea. It's so strange. It's psychotic.
Right. Just like he took credit for what Mike Pence did.
I mean, let's be honest. There was a woman who died yesterday. A couple people died. He will never mention them. He didn't mention COVID people. He doesn't like losers. She got caught. She got killed. That's a loser to him. It is when his friends are reporting that he's just crazy right now. I believe them. I really believe that there are people who are staying and want to quit, but they're really worried, so they're staying. I've heard that too.
Well, but
he threw him away. He's like going, and there's going to be a peace. Do I trust him? No, but he's got to work out a deal. All Trump ever wants is a deal. He's got to figure out Pence to get what he wants. But if they do 25, that's a whole different story.
And I don't think the 25th ain't gonna happen. 25th of May, because
he can't pardon himself. It's never been done. It's not.
Hold on a second. It's never been done. Don't mean he ain't gonna do it.
But it doesn't mean that there can't be another coming back in to circumvent and sue him.
The problem is that it will go to the Supreme Court.
Right.
That's his problem.
And they can't.
And they can't, because it will mean that the president is above the law.
Yeah.
That's what it'll bounce back to. His best bet is to talk to Pence about invoking
I think he's on the road to this. I think he's on the road to
That's why he's going to Camp David. And I think that he'll take Pence along with him.
Yeah.
And that the conversation by this weekend will be to invoke the 25th so that Pence can pardon him.
I see Pence being our president for the last couple of weeks. I just do. Yeah. It's the only sane thing to do. This whole thing was being orchestrated for him to make an exit.
Jill, oxymoron, 45 insane?
No.
She says she's Pence being our president.
No, I can't see that happening. I don't.
Then how is his exit going to be gracious? I mean, all we have to think
about. Care.
No,
Jill, he's got 70 million supporters.
But he's only thinking about himself.
Shonda Rhimes
weird about race.
Yeah, he's only thinking about that pardon.
Yeah,
because he has to get, because the thing is, he changed the law so that an automatic 10 years for this crime, he's gonna put himself in prison.
It's
He
true.
can't. He's got to, and he's got to get out of it. So he's got to figure the easiest way.
And
to
his
a pardon.
people are leaving who usually explain everything to him. He's
Yeah.
in a mess. He's
Okay,
really it's a mess.
Yeah, so here's some of the people
And
that
now, and now he can't without. And now he's already cut off everything that he was going to do after the presidency, which means no reality shows, no network's going to work with him.
Mm-mm.
No,
oh, hold on. You know what?
nothing.
America is always a country second chance.
No, not for this. Not for something like this.
You know, because remember, there's also the thing in television of getting sponsors for that. No sponsor will want their brand associated with him.
You're right.
It will never work.
No, it will
Especially
never
now,
work.
tonight, why he popped on, he got word that the officer died.
Yeah.
It was that. That is like, and when they arrest whoever it is, they're not going to get milk and cookies like all the other shooters we've seen in America.
So
because you got to remember too. Here's the thing: for television reality show, he has to get sponsorship. Americans will control the sponsorship of those things. All we got to do is boycott and do a boycott. Go to social media and boycott the company. They'll drop it in a minute.
We're already trying to get Fox.
They wouldn't even entertain that. It would never even fly at the upfronts. Never. Because of the fact that sponsors don't want, they're already in the business. A lot of brands are already in the business of using virtual influencers because they don't want the headache of having somebody who's going to embarrass the brand.
Right.
So this would never even fly. And the fact that if anybody thinks that this can work, why
do you think Tucker Carlson hates Americans so much? Because he's lost so many sponsors. Because every time that Tucker Carlson says something offensive, whoever's supporting him, forget it.
So Black Beauty is saying here, 45 unfortunately is clever like a fox. Remember, 45 is never an island. Too many people think he's an answer to their prayers.
Yeah.
He'll get a show on Newsmax or maybe OAN. But not mainstream TV. No.
Yeah, and I think if nothing else, I think that this has also woken up the typical old school conservative person that
the rhinos.
Yeah, exactly. I think this has woken them up.
And he also now knows we control the Senate. The Dems control the House and the Senate. And that is what got him. That is what he just went, okay, it's official. I'm coming correct. Because I anticipated them moaning about the election. Not a chance. It was like they weren't going to do that. This thing that happened, I don't know if even he knew how to recover from all of this. I think he needs an exit plan. And don't forget, Scotland shut him down. She shut her whole country.
Trump will use his children to push his sponsorship. No, he won't. His children, anyone that's tied to him can't get the stink of him off of them. Katie McEnany
can't sell any of her stuff for $2 now.
Right.
Yeah. When this first happened, her thing. I mean, even though she's no longer really running she's not running the brand. There's still a bunch of Ivanka Trump stuff that is floating around in resale stuff. Nobody's touching it.
No, I wouldn't walk around with it. Yeah.
Yep.
So
nobody likes Donald Trump Jr. Please, he's Donald Trump Sr. 2.0.
And then the video of them watching on. You saw that, right?
Remember,
of them watching the attack.
He participated.
The whole family. Yep. Donald Jr. was there. The father, the girlfriend. That was really pretty foul. I don't know. Basically, this situation even gave Republicans who'd been voting for him still and going, well, he's a Republican. It gave them an out too. They're dipping. Everybody's like, bye, I'm dipping. It gave them, God knows why they stuck by him, but they can't. They have to. They won't work. They will not work. They'd be better off writing a book about this. And we will hear,
Yep.
as Dr. Tachi said, for years about what was going on.
So what is the future of the Republican?
His hopes goodbye, so can Josh Hawley.
What is the future of the Republican Party? The near
They're gonna
future.
have to blow it up and start over again.
They're gonna have to rebrand.
Didn't he call the Republican Party the Trump Party? Who did that?
He did,
right?
Trump.
And I think that's part of the problem, because the Republican Party has become synonymous with Cheeto Satan, and that's all people will see. That's all they're able to see.
Yeah.
So you're absolutely right. They need to rebrand, and this is a long uphill battle. Here's the thing: yesterday was absolutely deplorable, but it needed to happen because nobody believes that somebody was like, "Oh, okay, I can show you better than I can tell you." People needed to see that happen to believe that it needed to happen.
People needed to see this is as bad as it really is.
Yes.
And Biden really kicked that out. Like, it's true. They treated people differently. I saw a policeman helping a woman down the stairs.
Yes. Did you see that rubbish?
I couldn't have been a police officer.
Did you see that film of the one police officer who was unarmed and they're chasing them and pushing back towards the black police officer? And the only
I was confused.
they found was the baton.
Yeah, I mean, I just really feel that there was a tipping point, as Malcolm Gladwell always says, and within this riot, the tipping point is the police officer.
I thought he was going to get killed. There was a part of me saying we're going to watch a murder in real time.
Yeah. But they did murder somebody, and they did murder a police officer. So that's changed the whole thing. He died tonight.
Well,
The Blue Lives Matter party killed a police officer.
But did the Senate say they're going to investigate how that whole thing went down? Did they say Nancy say that, or she just wanted him fired?
Here's another question: are we going to see people go to jail?
We better.
Yes,
we better.
Because if we don't, oh my gosh. Here's the thing. We probably won't see people go to jail before the Biden administration is seated. I think this is going to have to be Joe's mess up.
I think Merrick Garland's going to go in, and the two women that were just put in. People are raving about them, and I think they're independent. He said they're working independently from him. I trust him. I think they are going to go with a vengeance. I mean, I'll be the tea and coffee girl because these people are going to be working late. I'll be like, hey, you want some tea and coffee? Get you some cookies. You're going to be working really late hours to get through this.
I think Biden's administration is going to be cleaning up a lot of
mess.
Yeah, we're going to have to remember. I think this is what everybody is going to have to remember. Not only are they coming in during a pandemic, but they're also have just now being sworn in after a coup. And so there is a lot for them to clean up. And, we have short memories of these types of things. And we have a tendency to blame whoever's president for whatever. But it's like, it's never, the antecedent is it never starts with them. It's always something that came from before or from years and years before. So I think this is what we're going to have to remember. This is not going to be cleaned up in 4 years. So I hope nobody is expecting for things to be cleaned up in 4 years. It won't. It's going to take time.
But here's the double standard, and I'm so glad you mentioned that about the previous, because how many times have we heard about Benghazi and how sanctimonious and self-righteous we have heard the Republican Party yesterday was like Benghazi. You could it was like watching a post-mortem of how that stuff just jumps off, and you don't have any resources. So the question comes back to, it's possible, it happens, and this is where we are. But we have had 400,000 Benghazis in COVID deaths. And yesterday was just the final nail in the coffin on Donald Trump's legacy.
And speaking of COVID, and speaking of a pandemic, they are going to have to. they might as well just burn the building down because they're going to have to disinfect that building. So, like,
They've touched everything.
They're gonna have to look like Princess Diana looking for landmines when they go through there. Shit,
because
I mean, who
went
knows what's
in there,
planted there?
they were all in there, no mask.
Yes.
It was a super spreader event.
And that was the least of the concerns, and I get that because there were other concerns. But I was I'm like, these MFs don't have any masks on. I wasn't surprised though. I wasn't surprised because that is their mantra. They're anti-maskers as well because Personal Liberty don't tell me what to do. So I wasn't expecting masks, but
when you go in there, you realize they're touching everything, they're breathing on everything, and
you will hear this article that's in the Washington Times. I saw a Fox News reporter posting it, and it was Antifa. Facial recognition company has identified Antifa people. Well, then they went and corrected the article because I guess the facial recognition company was like, They were talking about just extremists that they tend to see in certain things. It's no different than, we're back to the whole Patty Hearst thing. Yeah. Remember when Patty Hearst was in the SLA? And, she ended up being Miss Goody Two-Shoes and everybody else was bad. I mean, I think we are at a really good place in our country. And I won't use Banana Republic anymore if Dr. Tachi. I understand what you're saying. But I happen to think that our education system and what we saw yesterday, we have not given much stability to the youth because they should not be persuaded by a bunch of old freaking boomers, my age and older, over some crazy, scary fan fiction that they got caught up on now that they're in retirement. It's horrible, horrifying.
Your taxes are about to go up.
Yeah,
taxes are about to go up because now we got to fix that building.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they're going to be mad about it. You know what? They're going to forget about this. They're going to be mad. Like, why did this? I knew every time a Democrat gets in. Meanwhile, we've got to have the right words to deal with them and say, you did this and you have to be accountable.
Yes.
Right.
Well, let's see if we can, as we start to end on a good note, what were your reactions about what happened in Georgia?
Oh, I was so happy. Unfortunately, Ossoff did not get to get his his praise because they got to announce it a little bit between.
I didn't hear it.
Between stuff. It was like a blurb on the screen.
Right.
But at least he doesn't get an automatic recount. Thank goodness. But yesterday was actually, it had to be Mitch McConnell's worst. I was thinking about him. I was thinking about Mitch McConnell in his office, cowering off, scared, and then he hears that Ossoff won and he lost his job.
But
and then to make it so bad, I don't know if you saw the whole voting thing. You know that song by Ludacris, "Move, Get Out the Way." So they changed it to "Move, Mitch, Get Out the Way." Yeah. So you have to deal. I'm sure. Not that I feel sorry for him, but it can't have been a good day.
No, that's why I tweeted. Today's Mitch's very, very bad, unappreciated.
Even though he and Lindsey Graham really stood up and had to do what they did, it's so late in the game.
Yeah,
and I actually
too damn late.
But I did understand that all Mitch was trying to do was corral these young people behind, and I kind of felt like he might have felt like really old yesterday.
He does.
Old. When it's like there really was like they don't respect you, and I think he started to understand that that they're coming for his job too. Those young people are like, bye, I'm coming for your job, just like Nancy. So
Aisha, did you like Galen's comment, Aisha?
Yes, I did.
He needs something.
But no, I just kept thinking of him sitting in his office, just pissed.
And his wife resigned today, right?
Yeah, it was here. He knew
the funny thing is,
his wife wrote the resignation letter yesterday. So Mitch was sitting in his office knowing that his wife was resigning, knowing that he lost his job. and then just sitting there, and then this happened.
So,
Imagine.
so one of the
I'm sorry.
one of the things I thought about what happened in Georgia, it really now makes Ms. Harris one of the most powerful people in the world.
Yep.
Because she breaks the 50-50.
Yes, she
does.
does.
She breaks the 50-50.
Actually, it makes her the most powerful woman in the world because you got to remember, Joe Biden doesn't do anything until he signs it.
That's
so
right.
It doesn't get to him until
Yep.
she breaks it.
That's right. She is her power just got amplified to another level because of what happened in Georgia. What we're gonna do with Stacey Abrams? What should we do with Stacey Abrams?
We're gonna let her do whatever she wants to do.
Exactly. Do let her do her.
Stacey Abrams, first of all, let me just say, because as you know, I'm back and forth between here and Atlanta because of production. So I'm in Georgia an awful lot. So it did my heart good to see, as a kind of Georgia resident, to see that happen. Stacey Abrams is just amazing. And we had this conversation that, okay, there's reasoning behind everything. There was a reasoning for all the foolishness and mayhem that happened when she was running for governor. That needed to happen because the whole thing is, and I saw a quote by venture capitalist Arlen, I can't remember her last name, but she's a venture capitalist, deals with especially with Black women and people of color getting venture capital. And she said in a tweet, I have been pining for Stacey Abrams to run for Senate, for years. And after she lost the governorship, she said Stacey's answer has always been no. She says, because it doesn't matter who's president if the voting process isn't right. So we needed her not to win in order to facilitate this. It's always for a greater good. Always for the greater good. And I think this is what we need to think about, that sometimes our role isn't in leadership in the way we think it's going to be. Sometimes we need to support other movements that are going to facilitate other people getting in office that leads a path for everybody to win. So I think we could really learn. She needs to teach, and everybody's been saying this. You need to teach a master class in strategy, Stacey Abrams. If you are watching this, you are the queen of political strategy.
She is,
and we also can't forget Latasha Brown.
Latasha Brown too. Yes,
for Black Votes Matter, because she worked the ground just as hard, getting people out there and getting the Black community in Atlanta.
And that's a good thing, because that's very hard to do.
Yes. Her and Stacey Abrams both. But I have a friend that worked for Stacey Abrams for her organization. And he's been in Atlanta politics for a long time. And I've known him since I met him in 2006. We both did Emily Eastliff's training because I used to work in politics. And I'll tell you, he says she's a dynamo.
Yeah, you can see she's amazing.
She's just amazing. And I think, oh, by the way, there was this guy who got on Twitter, thought he was being funny, and said Fat Albert Stacey Abrams needs to she can go have she destroyed America, so now she can go to a buffet or something like that on his Twitter. His employer also fired him.
Yeah, I mean, people don't understand the time change. We don't do that. That's gone. That is gone. Because also, people in this whole, she is a vibrant, important woman who made such a contribution, and she's vital. And exactly right. I was really upset when she lost and had to go through that stuff with Kemp. And it's almost spiritual what happened. I mean, it's karmic because Kemp was put in this awkward position. I mean, it was so adversarial when that whole thing went down with them at first. And here they are, the tables turned, and it was like I was glued to it because I could
Look.
not believe, and I was like, God is good because
Look.
He is showing.
Kemp is like, can you get me reelected?
Yeah, everything. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting.
So real dangle saying Stacey Abrams will be the governor of Georgia. Bank on
I
it.
think she will.
I don't think she wants to be.
I don't. You know why?
Yeah.
Because I don't think Stacey Abrams has more power now than she would if she were governor of Georgia.
True.
Yep. Galen saying Stacey Abrams did it the right way. Never fear folks who only fight in public. Stacey said, all right, I got you.
She did, but maybe now she's going to want to go in and try to figure out how to. It's the legislation side where you're going to need these strategic things that she's got going on to get our
real legislation. He's saying now there's a report down here that the Republican Party wants to change the rules on absentee ballots.
Well, here's the thing. The Republican Party is going to get a rude awakening because now that Stacey Abrams helped to flip Georgia, she's going to start moving to other states. And she's going to start moving to other states and not so much the congressional and the federal offices. She's going to move to other states and start working on their state houses, because the state houses is how you redraw the congressional districts.
Exactly.
Galen is saying here the most important person in the room is usually not the one talking loudly.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
True.
I'm just so proud of the way that they have all been able to do things. And you know, Stacey Abrams was I believe she was for 4 years or 6 years she was with the Georgia House.
It was like, I think it was like 4 years.
4 years, right. And so I remember reading her saying that making change that way is so slow and it takes a long time.
She was 6 years because she was Georgia Senate.
Was it okay.
Wow.
So the Georgia Senate, right? So she said that it takes so much time to make change that way. So this was really her calling, and so I don't think she has any interest to go back that route now that she sees a way to make change happen differently.
Yeah, I don't think she wants to be a legislator.
No.
Because as a senator, she wasn't a legislator. Senators don't really legislate the same way House members
one
do.
place where we're a little rusty.
Yeah.
We need the laws to actually change. We need in all of the states, there's so many things that need to just really be on the table. And I know each individual state does its own thing, but as far as the DNC or the Democratic Party, there has to be better communication going forward. What
Getting
we've
rid
had.
of Tom Perez is the first step, and I think
it helps.
They're going to put Jamie Harrison in. I think he's going to do a much better job.
I just don't think Tom really understood the whole changing that was happening.
All right, so ladies, we're going to end it off with a question by Black Beauty. Black Beauty's question is, so guys, what do you think the next 13 days hold for 45?
Yeah, well, I hope.
I said it.
Yes.
I think that he's going to work out a way to resign and leave early and let Pence handle so he can get a pardon.
Yeah, I agree. I think a pardon's the next step for him within the next 13 days.
Okay. So as we close out,
Dr. Tachi, what do you think?
What do I want or what do I think? I think I have to agree. I agree with you because there really is no other way. He can't survive. Let's be clear. He can't survive without being pardoned. He cannot, because the alternative is what? Prison?
I know.
He can't survive.
And he's supposed to jet out somewhere the day before.
And the first thing is that if he goes to prison, it's going to be local charges, DC charges.
Hey, could he fly out the night before, make Pence the president, then have him do the pardons on the day of the 20th? Could he do that realistically? Because he's trying to fly out. If that's true or not, but Does he want to hang around? Where's he going to go?
Exactly.
Don't come here.
Go. No. Where?
But the problem with that is that as soon as he becomes citizen Trump is when he can go to jail. So the moment
Exactly.
he becomes citizen is that he won't be able to fly out. They'll be ready to arrest him.
Exactly. So he'd have to leave the night before.
No, because even if he gets a federal pardon, the city of DC will arrest him for his participation in the coup.
That was the tricky part. Yes.
So Cuddles
It
1991
is bunker
says,
tonight.
I don't see 45 resigning. His ego won't let him. Galen saying that dude inspired treason.
He did.
Wait, you know what?
I think she did.
Nobody. I laughed at that because nobody has done treason like Donald Trump.
That's true.
And then Real Django says Melania's gonna dump. No, she ain't gonna dump him.
Oh yes, she is.
You know,
Yes, she
this
is.
is
Oh
what I
yes,
was
she
hoping.
is.
And this is probably
Yeah.
terrible. I was like, I hope you have the divorce papers in your hand and you file them on the 20th. That's exactly what the hell he would get. That's
Let me
what
tell
he
you,
needs.
she's no better
They
than
haven't
him.
had a marriage.
She's no better than
Not.
him.
Oh,
It's
she's no
obvious.
better than him, but they also don't have a marriage. That whole marriage was a sham.
Weird.
Well,
They also
remember,
don't
a year and a half
real.
ago, she went and they went and redid their prenup.
Prenup.
So she most
that's true.
definitely, she most
Well, she better
definitely
hope that
is
check
divorcing him.
clears into her bank account because it may not
Oh,
clear.
she got her money 2 years ago.
Yeah, but
Really?
she made an adjustment or for her son because
Mm-hmm.
yeah, with what is there? I mean, let's really be honest. Where are they hiding the money for kids after his death? Because in other people's real lives, you couldn't really do that with the amount of debt that he has. He's got
a
it
lot of debt.
somewhere. And
Yeah,
she worked out something for her son. I don't
Yeah.
know about the other ones, but for her child, I know that woman did. We all
Of
know
course.
it. But it's like, so where is it? Did he give it? Did it? Something has transpired, and hopefully she got it up front.
Yeah.
All right, ladies, that's a wrap for tonight. I am so happy to have that I survived this without just like falling
This was
over.
fun. I loved it.
It was.
It's good time. So I'm gonna
We
ask.
need to do it again.
Yes, well, Birdie. Well, I'm gonna ask Dr. Tachi as much as I can get her this month. We want her on because once February hits, forget it.
You don't want me to rest, huh?
No, I do. Oh, okay. Well, one more time this month. One more time.
Yeah.
I can probably manage one more time.
Good.
Birdie,
Yes,
what
sir.
do you, first of all, thank you for showing up. Thank you. You're more than welcome to come on at any time. Any final words? What do you think is going to happen? Okay, in the next 13 days, and tell people where they can contact you. Birdie, go ahead.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for letting me just be in the space with you all. Again, I'm Birdie from the Birdie Lynn Brandon podcast, and you can find us on all social media platforms at Birdie Lynn or at Birdie Lynn Jewelry.
And what's your thought? What are your thoughts for the next 13 days? Smooth or rocky?
It's gonna definitely be rocky. We started off this year rocky. I think Trump's definitely gonna try his best to stay in. I think we're trying our very best to get him out. I can't necessarily say, it's like Dr. Tachi said, is it what I want or is it what's realistically going to happen? I know it's going to be a fight for, either or. So we'll see.
Dr. Tachi.
So again, thank you so much for having me on. This was a really great conversation. I am Dr. Tachi. I am the host of Mediascope, which is a show that talks all about media tech and pop culture every Wednesday, starting back again on the 27th at 6 p.m. Eastern time on Periscope, Facebook Live, LinkedIn Live at WJMSradio.com. We also do a pre-show at 5 on Instagram. I am one half of the TV Twins on the TV Channeling podcast, where we do TV reviews and talk TV, film, and entertainment news on every single platform to pick your favorite podcasting platform. You also can hear us on Tuesdays and Fridays at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific on WJMS Radio. And finally, if you can't remember any of that, just go to tvchanneling.com and you can listen to past episodes and current episodes there.
What happens in the next 13 days?
Okay, let me not go with my wishful thinking. I have to the scenario that Jill and Aisha painted out. I think his goal is being pardoned, because as soon as he goes back to being citizen Egypt, they're going to pounce on him, and he knows he cannot survive there. He thinks he's above the law, therefore he's going to be stirring up stuff. This was an attempt to really disrupt things, because at the end of the day, he does not want. He's done so much stuff that he knows he will be culpable for once he gets out, that he's trying everything in his power to stay in, and that's what it's about. He does not want to be arrested. That's it.
Okay. Jill Jones.
Well, I'm at Jill D. Jones on Twitter, and Jill Jones Music on Facebook and Instagram. But you make a really interesting point, because I think the main thing is for us to try to understand within the next 13 days, maybe what the question that Galen asked, like, what was the payoff? What is it? And I guess when we get to the bottom of that, which it looks like it's pardoning and trying to be exempt and establish some way to negotiate a life, it depends on what's going on behind the scenes, because there's a lot of transparency, but then there isn't, and maybe we're not privy to some of it. What it's like putting together the pieces of, okay, he wanted to stay, but as Dr. Tachi sort of alludes to the fact, maybe now he knows it's done. Like, it is that isn't happening. We've got the Senate and the House. Everybody's putting pressure from his own party on him this time. And he heard 25th Amendment and he heard impeachment. And now it's like, it's a negotiation. Sun Tzu warrior, what would he do? It really is like, how do I get out of this? And he is clever.
Oh, yeah.
But we will see, but I do think it's the scenario that we all discuss, that it's still going to hinge on that. And it will be done in the way that will make him still look the least, like the best out of it, like as if it was his decision.
Mm-hmm.
That's so crazy about him.
Yes.
Aisha?
I can be reached on Twitter at Aisha Staggers, capital AISHA, capital STAGGERS. I think that there are two things going on. The first is that he's going to Camp David to try and figure out how he can get a deal. He's going to try and see if he can work with Mike Pence to do the 25th. Part of him going to Camp David is to see how much of his pride he can swallow.
Or a war.
Right. Right.
Sorry.
But how much of his pride you can swallow. Because remember, he's still pissed at Mike Pence. Very pissed at Mike Pence for this morning. So he's going to see how he can do that, or whether or not he can just sit on his hands for the next 12 days, 13 days. Really,
that's a whole other day. Yeah.
Really weigh the options. Really just weigh the options. I have a feeling that Nancy is going to give him an ultimatum, that he has to have something. That's the other side of it. That Nancy's going to say, you have till Sunday to give me an answer. Because Monday we're filing impeachment. We're filing an impeachment resolution. So go to Camp David this weekend, but you come back with an answer on Sunday. For me, you give me a call on Sunday, because Monday we're going to file articles of impeachment.
When they do file it, just a quick question.
Mhm.
Does somebody just come right in and just remove him? Secret Service just comes out and takes him?
No, they'll do, but no, but Nancy said we will do an expedited. She said there's ways
Because
to
we
do it.
got to do some stuff
Yeah.
while people
She
are
said there's
sitting
ways-
around burning down the house. They'd be
No,
having
she said
matches and
she said
burning
there's
down
ways-
the White House.
She said there's ways to do it very quickly in order to get it done.
Yeah, but
get it done. But the
but-
thing is, I think that's a threat. I think that is a threat to push him. That'll be a threat to push him towards June the 25th.
Okay.
yeah, but the thing is, with the impeachment, doesn't have to get the approval of both houses.
It has to
did,
get
right?
the approval. It has to pass the House. The Senate has to remove him.
That ain't gonna happen.
So,
But don't we have the Senate? now?
No,
No.
that's the whole thing, though.
Oh, right.
Not yet.
Loeffler gets gone. Loeffler will be gone.
But
by
they
then.
can impeach him later
we're not-
after he's even
Because
out
guess
of
what?
office.
Ossoff
Is that true?
can get sworn in like tomorrow.
Hmm.
Because remember, what's his name? His term expired. Right now, there's no sitting senator in Georgia for Ossoff's seat. So Ossoff can be sworn in ASAP.
Interesting.
All right. Well, we thought 2020 was over and done with, but it sounds like it's just extending. So
No, it's not. No, it's not.
all right.
2021 is good for Black folks.
All right. We'll hold you to that.
Well, no, because guess what? We won Georgia, and this ain't us. Whatever.
It's good for a lot of women of
What happened
color.
yesterday? That wasn't us.
I will say the women of color being appointed in the Biden administration, I'm beaming. I think I'm so thrilled that there's women and they're women of color. That to me is like exceptional.
Yes.
Okay.
2021 is the year of the Black woman.
All right.
Well, they're in some key roles, and it's going to be changing many, many laws if they can and change things for people, especially those civil rights.
It is Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show, the home of Epic Conversations. I'm the host of Epic Conversations 2020 Podcast News and 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. Also, I host the only online conversation that's held on a regular basis for fathers and dads in the world that is sponsored by Dove Men Care. It's also co-sponsored by DAD, Central Canada's national fatherhood organization. As always, I'd like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, a solution for someone's problem. Also like to say that I'd like to thank all the people who helped make this conversation epic tonight. We had Black Beauty, D. Chanson Berry, Nicole, Harrison Family Vlogs. We had Galen Bingham, of course. We had Black Beauty and others. And if I forgot to say your name, it's because of my head, not my heart. Let's see, a few last comments here. Galen saying, I think his concession was part of Nancy's negotiation demands. Real Django saying, yes, Purdue's job was lost Sunday. Galen says, there is opportunity in chaos. Quote, that was a quote by Bruce Lee. And I will just say that that is it for tonight. And as always, I close out with this. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get smaller to get stronger. Block assumptions and aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider, and two other things. Love, respect, and faith. And finally, remember to give yourself grace because we're still on a crazy ride, folks, so we got to lock in. God bless. Peace well. Keep the faith. Walk good. Good night, everybody. Thanks for watching live or on the replay or listening on the replay. Bye-bye.